Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by Replenishing Care. You can go in and hit the Replenishing Care button or banner on thegruelingtruth.net, and it will take you there, show you the PEMF machine and everything else that they have. If you're an athlete or even a weekend warrior, go there, check them out. There's something for everybody there. I'm your host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great. Welcome back to vacation, my friend.
Yeah, I got back just in time, too, because now there's
no
a
kidding.
Storm.
Got out of Panama City. You're bringing it right up here into Indiana, too.
Yeah, every place I go, I leave disaster in my wake.
It's that dark cloud, Linus. It just hangs over your head all the time.
And it followed me all the way to Indiana because it's supposed to rain the next 3 days.
Yeah, right. You know what's happening the next 3 days in the Midwest, don't you?
What's that?
The Jack Nicklaus's golf tournament, the Memorial. The poor guy's tried to move that thing around. Every year he tries to find a different time slot, and every year it pours down rain on his beautiful course, Muirfield Village out there in Columbus, Ohio. So my guess is if it hits Indy on Wednesday, by about Thursday or Friday, it's going to be all over Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, well, that'll happen. It's golf. They ought to be able to play that in the rain anyways. We're going to start off.
They do play in the rain.
I know, but they don't play in lightning. I learned that from Caddyshack.
We don't do anything in lightning, especially when you're 6'8".
Yeah, especially when you're such a lightning rod like you are, Steve.
I'll tell you what, by the end of this show, I may be.
All right, so we're going to start off with the NBA Finals. For the fourth straight year, we've got the Golden State Warriors against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Both teams went to Game 7. Both teams won Game 7 on the road. And I think when people look at this series, they think it's a 4-game sweep. I don't think so, because what I think we learned from the Houston Rockets is the Golden State Warriors are beatable. I mean, if you can get hot from three, you can control the pace of the game a little bit, they can be beat.
No doubt. I think anybody thinks this is a pushover tournament or series here is not been watching the NBA unfold this playoff season. LeBron is having an epic playoff run. I mean, and right now, anybody who ever thought about not being a fan of his better have turned a corner right now and look at what this man individually has done in rising all buoys in his ocean to get his team back. And I think a lot can be said, too, for Golden State. Of all the years they've been playing, we've kind of they've been the two most dominant teams in the East and the West. This year, I'm not so sure either one was the most dominant team. Obviously the Cavs were seeded fourth, and Houston was seeded number one in the West. But I think this was a dogfight for both teams. They both went to Game 7. Both had to go win on the road. This may be the funnest of this series that's taken place in the last 4 years. Not going to be a pushover. I think I would have to favor Golden State a little bit because I think there's strength in numbers. And my question is, how long can LeBron continue to be superhuman? He played 45 minutes in Game 7 at Boston, the entire game. How long can he continue to keep that up with his 34-year-old body? But I'm going to watch this one. I'm not a big fan of the NBA. I never have been a big fan of the NBA since Bird and Magic left the league, and Isaiah. And it's gone through a amorphous transition I didn't like, but I think it's coming back. And I think you're going to see just a real knockdown 7-game dogfight here. I think it's going 7 games.
Well, I think if it goes 7 games, I favor anybody with LeBron James. But when I look
I
at
agree.
this,
yeah.
If you look at the starting 5, Golden State is obviously much better.
Right.
I think the thing where Cleveland may have an advantage is on the bench, because if you look at the roster, I mean, Steve Kerr's been forced to play Kevon Looney, Jordan Bell. I mean, Nick Young, more minutes than anybody should. And you got guys like Quinn Cook, David West, McGee. They've gone basically from being in a rotation to being cheerleaders. So this is a series, and I think the whole key to this series is somehow for Cleveland to get one of these first 2 games. Because if they do, I think Golden State has already had that aura of invincibility that they had kind of dented by Houston. Because when I look at this, and we've talked about this before, that 90% of winning a championship is luck, and a lot of that luck is injuries. If you look at Boston missing their two best players, I mean, if you just add Kyrie Irving to that team, they're probably in the finals. And I think if Chris Paul's playing, I think Houston wins that series in 6 or 7 games. So a lot of luck helped these teams get there. And in the end, I think this is probably a 5-game series. But I just want to see, because LeBron James is special. And when you've got a special player like that, whether it's a Larry Bird, a Magic Johnson, a Michael Jordan, something special is going to happen. He's going to put this team on his back at some point. I don't know if it'll be enough to win 3 or 4 games or even 1 or 2. But it's kind of like when you watch Jordan in 1986 in the first round against the Celtics. You know who's going to win, but you watch it to see what Michael Jordan's going to do. And in that game 2 of that series, Michael Jordan scores 63 points. It takes the Celtics double overtime to beat him. So to me, people that say, I'm not going to watch this because it's LeBron James and Steph Curry again, that's stupid. Because what you have is one of the greatest players of all time against a player in Steph Curry who's one of the greatest shooters you've seen. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. And I think in the end, the Warriors had to play a lot of isolation basketball against Cleveland. And if Cleveland could slow this game down, make them do that and hit their threes, I think they do have a chance to at least make this series competitive.
Yeah, Cleveland has shown throughout the series that they're very adept this year at controlling the tempo of the game. They are, and that's probably the reason LeBron is getting so many minutes and able to carry the team with that many minutes, is that they're basically controlling the tempo. They speed up when they want to speed up. They slow down when they want to slow down. LeBron has just the ball in his hands at all times. He's a master at controlling game tempo now and knowing when to push it and when to let things go. You know, they're sitting on a kid, Kyle Korver, who, in my eyes, is every bit as good a shooter as Curry in terms of being able to shoot the ball. Now, does he get the opportunity to shoot the ball like Curry does? No. Is Curry? Yes, Curry is an MVP player. But Korver is a guy that if you don't pay attention to that man, he'll eat you up with a three-point shot. I've seen that guy. He's got one of the quickest releases of the ball coming off the screen and getting that ball off if anybody I've ever seen shoot from that range consistently.
Right there is the difference between him and Steph
coming
Curry.
Off the screen, right.
He has to come off the screen. So for Kyle Korver to get an open shot, a lot of things have to happen. Steph Curry can create his own shot.
You remember, Cleveland's set up kind of that way with a fewer or less egos than Golden State has. All right, you mentioned all the great players in the team. Those players come with egos as well. You know, I think Cleveland is a team more focused on winning a championship right now, and Golden State is a team more focused on themselves in winning a championship. And that little chink of, you know, is Durant going to get upset? Is somebody, you know, you're in the national spotlight again? They just have a few more working parts that can break down where, you know, Cleveland right now is chugging along like an old Volkswagen. Those things were made with maybe 150 parts, so they would never break down. And I see Cleveland right now being a team that's less likely to puke on itself than Golden State has the potential to do now. Golden State's a great team, well coached, not likely to do it, but I would favor Cleveland in the sense of the solidarity of those kids on the floor and all working toward a common goal, much as what Jordan did for the Bulls in their heyday. You know, they're rallying around their star player. They've got support players, like you said, that are really up in their game. They're going to get Kevin Love back here, and he's a force to be reckoned with still. And I tell you what, I would not want to try and shut LeBron James down right now. I don't think there's two players in the league together that can shut him down right now. I think he's going to get the favor of the referees' calls. I think that he is just playing the best playoff basketball I've ever seen this guy play. And I just don't think Golden State's going to have anything to stop him. So then it becomes Curry scoring against LeBron's, and everybody else filling their roles. I think Cleveland fills roles better than Golden State fills roles.
You're missing one thing here, though. Klay Thompson's the best shooter in the NBA, I think. And Klay Thompson's still on that team. And the fact is this. Cleveland has not been, over the last couple of years, a very good defensive team, especially on the perimeter. I know we talked about this before they played the Pacers, which is why I thought the Pacers could beat them. And I just don't see them having enough guys to guard everybody on that team. And when you bring up maybe Golden State's more selfish than Cleveland, I think what we saw was down 11 at halftime against the Rockets, when they were pushed into a corner, they came out as a team and they dominated the second half of that game in Houston, which is a tough place to win.
Right, and I saw that. But I'm just saying they have more working parts, and more working parts to me just means bells and whistles break, and they don't affect performance as much as they just cause nuisances. And I'm just saying that's got to be what Cleveland's got to be trying to exploit, because man on man, they're going to get outmatched. Because you're right, Golden State is much more talent laden, and there's no doubt. So if I'm the Cleveland hierarchy, which is pretty much LeBron, I don't count their coaching too much involved in what they're doing. I'm going to say, guys, just all stick together, stick behind me, do what I do. Do your part, stay with it, and do it. We'll wear their ass into the ground. We can go 7 games. We went 7 games with the Patriots. We went 7 games with Boston. We can go 7 games, and we've done it more than they have. We're more focused than they are. They had to go 7 games against Houston, but other than that, it's been a little easier road for Golden State to get there. I believe Cleveland's in it to win it. I'm going to enjoy this series.
All right. I just hope for Cleveland's sake that they don't know about your Michigan over Villanova pick.
Okay, we're going to relive that. Nobody's perfect, all right? Nobody's perfect. Let's just bring up that Aurora beat my Lawrence Central High School
I never
back
brought
in
that
1977 too. Well, I'm going to get it out for you.
That was so long ago, it doesn't even matter anymore.
What that proves is upsets do happen, okay? Upsets do happen. And plus, your boy Klay Thompson wants so badly to play with LeBron. I think he's going to let LeBron have the reins anyway. So he wants to go be part of LeBron's game, dog and pony show. He's leaving Golden State and going to wherever LeBron ends up, he's going with him.
All right. So, I think that would be perfect if Klay went to Cleveland and met LeBron, because I think that would give that team a chance to compete with the Celtics, at least when the Celtics are healthy. We're going to transition. We're going to go to something that is –
Well, who are you picking? You're picking Golden State in 5?
Yeah, Golden State in 5.
I'm saying Cleveland in 7.
All right.
I'm saying this is going to be a dogfight.
I hope you're right. Next up, we're going to go to a sport that we talk about constantly when we're on the phone together, and that's women's tennis. I mean, Steve was texting me all day yesterday about the first round of the French Open women's tennis tournament. But what we've got here is Serena Williams is unranked. All right. She has not played since February of 2017. Why has she not played? Because she was pregnant. And, yes, I know in a normal job you're given a certain amount of time off. You don't lose your place while you're gone. But let's face it, Serena does not have a normal job. She's not a normal person. She's a professional athlete where athletes are rewarded for performance and nothing else, which is the way it should be. So I'm asking you this, Steve. Should or why should a female get special treatment because she is pregnant?
In this case, I don't think it's relevant. I mean, she got time off. She's back on tour. She's been given a special exemption into the tournament. Most players have to earn their way into the tournament.
Now, wait a second. With the pregnancy, from the research I've done in the last hour, you actually get 8 automatic qualifiers into tournaments.
Yeah, 8 to make in a year to get yourself ranked back up again. Right. Here's the deal. Here's the deal about the whole thing. I don't think anybody, including myself, is going to deny that Serena Williams is the greatest female tennis player of all time, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, regardless whether she's female or not. Okay? The ranking system is a performance-based system. It is not a career accomplishment-based system. So what you did 5 years ago has no relevant bearing on this. Tiger Woods is right in that same category. He had dropped over 1,000 ranked golfer in the world. Everybody feared Tiger Woods the most to play in a match play event. Still to this day. Tiger came back, because he had the same type of situation, career earnings, he won enough majors, won enough tournaments. He's basically exempt from the PGA Tour for life, as I'm sure Serena is exempt in women's tennis for life. Okay, so she can play tennis until the day she can't hold a tennis racket anymore in the WTA, I'm sure, as Tiger can play in the PGA Tour as long as he wants to. When you have an injury, when you have a leave of absence, these points are accrued based on performance in the last tournament. They're a declining scale where how you performed the most recent tournament weighs more heavily than how you did. You finally get low enough where you miss enough tournaments, your ability to earn points just falls off the face of the earth. That is what all these tournaments set the rankings based on for any individual event. The French Open, and nobody's snubbing Serena Williams and saying you are not the greatest women's tennis player. They're mainly saying in the last 6 months or 12 months per period of time, you haven't performed or accrued points. Therefore, as we treat everybody in this sport, you go to the bottom of the poll, earn your way back up. No big deal. Serena is still the best player. She's probably still the favorite to win the French Open. I see it as another notch in her belt where she can come up and say, okay, now here's another feather in my cap. I'm now the only woman ever to win the French Open unranked. Who got in one on a sponsor or an exemption. I'm not ranked at all. So this whole thing is a much ado about nothing. Now, in the maternity leave thing, I get that, and I don't think it's just the performance point system. She's got to play the best at some point in time. Let her go through and let her play. That's what every other player has to do, male and female, that goes off these performance rank system scenarios. Let her come back. Tiger did it. Tiger's back in the top 50 in the world already. Every tournament he plays, he's going to play in the next 2 tournaments in Jack's tournament, then in the U.S. Open. He'll probably be back in the top 20 by the time this is all said and done. And before long, if he stays healthy enough, he may be back in the top 3 or 4 players in the world at 43. Serena will get right back there, too. My guess is by Wimbledon, she's probably ranked 1, 2, or 3 in the world again because she's probably going to win the French Open.
All right.
So I think it's much ado about nothing. I don't think it's anything. I haven't heard her really cry about it to any great degree. It's everybody else, the people on Twitter. It's everybody else, wanting to take this maternity thing, and nobody's kicked her out of tennis because of this. She has the right to play. She's earned the right to play. She's going to play. She's going to beat just about everybody that she gets to, and she's probably going to be in the finals in 2 weeks. And she's going to win it, and we'll move to the next tournament.
All right. This, number one, she's not going to win the French Open because of this layoff. She had a hard time winning the French Open before. I think she'd won it 2 or 3 times. She's never won it before without playing any clay tournaments before the French Open. And clay is probably the hardest surface to play tennis on.
When the hell have you ever played tennis on? When have you ever played tennis on clay? When have you ever played tennis?
Really? Okay.
Really?
Do you know that I was the number 1 singles player on my tennis team at South Dearborn High School?
Do they even have what you carve out the cornfield out there?
There is video on YouTube of it. So you can sit there and you can mock me all you want, Steve Risley, but I've played tennis. And I played tennis in a tournament in Forest Park, Ohio on clay where I advanced all the way to the quarterfinals before losing.
I love playing on clay. You can slide and glide.
You've never played tennis.
It's fun.
You're 6'8". They won't allow you to.
I was the Autumn Woods Apartment Complex men's singles champion in 1983.
But you were the only man in the complex. It doesn't count.
And well, that wasn't a good thing because there were a lot of good-looking women in that complex.
Yeah, but you came in 10th.
Not a bad problem.
You played the women. All right.
No, I won. Anyway.
To wrap this up real quick, my problem.
I think she will.
This.
I think because right now, I think she's probably going to be more. She's going to be more focused than ever. She's a great athlete. She's a great tennis player. She's one of those people like LeBron, like Tiger, like you can go on and name them in every sport. Has them, Peyton Manning. People that just can rise their level of competition and play to the level when they get focused. I think he's done a pretty damn good job all since he's come back here at the beginning of the year. No, he hasn't won, but he's been in the top 10 most every tournament. He's only missed 1 cut, and that was the course he despised. He didn't like the course anyway, but he went because it was in L.A. It was his home tournament basically out here in Riviera, which is not a fan of Riviera's. And other than that, he's played admirably. He's won almost $2 million already on tour, and it's a matter of time before he wins. I mean, and I think Serena is that superior to every other female tennis player out there.
All right.
I'd say she wins. I say Cleveland wins because I'm going for LeBron because he's just a master. He's earned that right. He's got that panache. I think Serena wins.
Okay. All right. And I thought Villanova would win. And I think Golden State's going to win. And I think Serena's out of this tournament before the semifinals.
Every armchair quarterback like you is 20/20 vision when you're talking about things that already have happened.
No, wait.
Don't
wait a second.
rehash
If you
history.
won,
Predict the future.
If you won, we could. Yeah, but see, the only thing you know is this: if you're constantly wrong, nobody cares what you think.
I'm not constantly wrong.
Well, we had one prediction in all these shows, and you picked Michigan. I picked Villanova. I won.
Well, yeah, everybody picked Villanova.
No, they didn't.
All right, that's
because
a real fun
John Einreinhofer
hey,
picked Michigan with you on this show, and you told me that you picking Michigan was picking to win, and me picking Villanova was picking to lose, and you got real cocky, and then you lost. I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
All right.
People, I will tell you right now, I am accountable. When I pick wrong, I pick wrong, but I'm going to tell you what, at that point in time, having played in a national championship game and having been in the same boat that Michigan was in, great teams make great runs. They rise to the occasion. And, Michigan was on that run, but that's unfortunately just like what could happen with LeBron. If LeBron's on one of those runs right now, it can come crashing down at any time because you're relying solely on one person or game-by-game single elimination. Had that been a best out of 5, Michigan would have won.
Oh,
but it's not a best out of 5. It was winner take all.
Michigan would win 3 out of 5 against Villanova, Steve. You're full of crap.
So you're just figuring that out.
Michigan might have won 1.
You're just figuring out that I'm full of crap, okay? It's
no,
sports
I'm not
shows
just
are all
figuring
about.
it out. I just already know. My final thought is this. My biggest problem with it is this. If you bring Serena back to the French Open and you rank her number 1, the player then who earned being ranked number 32,
right.
seed 32 players, gets knocked out, and the player that worked their ass off to earn that ranking loses it. That's why this is crap. So if you're a feminist and you want to get all mad, I don't care. You can tweet us at
Get mad,
Truth.
right.
All right.
I agree. That's exactly what I was trying to say. I was trying to put a little bit more like I knew what the hell I was talking about into it, but you so eloquently just summed it up in one sentence.
Yeah, well, that's why
it's unfair to the other women who have been playing, who have made choices, decisions, and who are playing the game, to take that spot away from somebody who has earned it in the time period required to earn it, just to give it back to somebody who hasn't earned it in the time period required to earn that spot. Dead on. Let's move on.
All right. So
I still think she's going to win it.
Oh, okay. Next up, she's not. But next up, we're going to talk about what you wanted to talk about today on the show, which is the NFL and their national anthem policy and the protests from the NFL players. So I'm going to let you start this out. I'm going to let you talk, and then I'll respond.
All right. I just, here's the thing. This is such a slippery slope here. I get what the players are trying to do. Having seen what happened in Milwaukee with the police officers and the NBA player up there, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting that any human being would be treated the way he was treated, regardless of their race, creed, color, height, sex, weight, anything. It's wrong. It's wrong. There is a serious problem here. I just don't think the best arena to do it in is an NFL football stadium. Everybody's getting a little tired of it. Nothing's being accomplished. They aren't getting anywhere. Nothing's happening. You just continue to divide the backers and the non-supporters. I just wish they would take their cause and find a more applicable arena to do it in. I just don't think NFL stadiums are the place to do this. I know they've all come out and they said, we are not dissing the country, we are not dissing the flag, we are not dissing the military. Well, it appears that that's what you're doing. And in the real world, most marketing people, most advertising people, most all people will tell you perception becomes reality. What you perceive is what generally ends up happening. And I just don't see anything good continuing to come out of having this discussion, having the NFL now come and look like clowns for, first off, basically destroying the career of Colin Kaepernick over this, and then coming out and saying, well, you can do it now. And then you have owners saying, well, go ahead and do it if you want to. We're going to pay your fine. You're not going to pay your fine. I'm going to pay your fine. What are the players sacrificing? Really, what are they sacrificing to do this? They're not giving anything up. Now you got owners paying their fines. They're not even getting hit out of the paychecks. I just think it's a wrong venue. It's a wrong venue. They're not winning. The NFL's not winning. Ratings are tanking. People aren't showing up to games. People are getting tired of it. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see any good coming from this. I don't see any social change happening. I think more social change is working against the players at this point in time. They're just getting tired of it. So I think they really need to rethink what they're doing, to stay united in their front. They are a voice for people. They are role models for people, but I just don't think the venue they're choosing is an ethical one.
All right.
Go ahead. Tear me up.
All right. It's not about tearing up. It's just a discussion. It's not a debate. There's no winners or losers like Villanova, Michigan.
Well, Colin Kaepernick's a loser. I mean, poor guy, lost his career.
As is Eric Reed, the former 49ers. But
as is the NFL.
I think the NFL deserves to lose because the only people that aren't patriotic in this whole thing are the NFL and their owners. I think a key component that is missing from the current controversial discussions surrounding football players and the national anthem is whether the NFL players have a right to protest racial inequality and systematic injustice in the United States. My problem is few people have brought up the fact that less than a decade ago, professional football players didn't even appear on the field during the national anthem unless it was the Super Bowl. That changed in 2009. Why did that change? It changed because the Department of Defense poured millions of dollars into the NFL in exchange for displays of patriotism during the games where they honored veterans. Let me repeat that. The Department of Defense paid millions of dollars for the NFL to honor veterans. Until 2009, no NFL player stood for the national anthem because players actually stayed in the locker room as the anthem was playing. The players were moved on the field during the national anthem because it was seen as a marketing strategy to make the athletes look more patriotic. The United States Department of Defense paid the National Football League $5.4 million between 2011 and 2014. The National Guard paid $6.7 million between 2013 and 2015 to stage on-field patriotic ceremonies as part of military recruitment budget line items. So when you sit here and all of these people are complaining that the players aren't patriotic, the players make too much money, we got a bunch of white billionaire owners that charge the Department of Defense and the National Guard $13 million over 3 years to act patriotic. Players were never on the field till then. And let's face it, there was no protest over the last 6 or 7 weeks of last season. There were no protests after 7 weeks until Donald Trump ran his mouth. And most of the people here that support or that rail against these players who disrespect our flag don't give two shits that the man that they honor, which is Donald Trump, which he can do anything he wants. And I'm not a Donald Trump supporter or a Hillary Clinton supporter, so I don't care. They're all corrupt crooks. But all these people ignore the fact that they support a president who was not man enough to serve in the very military that he bitches about people being unpatriotic against. What is a bigger slap in the face, a player taking a knee because of something they think is social injustice? Or is it some coward millionaire baby who has his daddy pay to get him out of going? I think that answer is pretty obvious. I think this. My biggest concern is while we sit here and the media pits black against white like they always do, which is what this is. You know, we're all worried about this flag and this song and what it means to our patriotism, while at the same time over here, miles away, there's veterans that are homeless, there's veterans that are killing themselves that nobody gives two shits about. All right? So we could sit there and act like we're all mad because somebody took a knee. But at the same time, the people over here that fought for the right for them to take the knee or to not take the knee or whatever you think are suffering. And I think in the big picture, with all the shit that's going on in this country, I think it's a media ploy. I think the government kind of runs the media. And I think that if they could take this little shiny thing over here and make everybody fight about it, everybody forgets about the important thing that's over here, or the corruption that's over here, which are tearing our country apart. It's not because a player took a knee. Ratings are down because people stream shit now. It's not that hard to understand why ratings would be down 9%. All right? It also, maybe the reason not as many people go to games now is because they can't afford it. Because while everybody's fighting about what the hell's going on in front of them with a flag and a song, the jobs aren't there. I can't afford, all right? I make a decent amount of money, but I cannot afford to pay $400 to take my wife and kids to a Bengals game. So why would I? So I think in the end, I think that those people that died that were represented on Memorial Day, from my father, who told me I never fought for anybody to have to do anything, to my best friend, or one of my best friends, who I've known since the 70s, who fought in Vietnam, who supports these players' rights with the same thing. I fought for people to have a First Amendment right. And when people say, well, they're employees, that's fine. But up until a few months ago, the employers allowed it to happen. And the contracts that these players signed had nothing in it stipulating they had to stand for a song or a flag. So now, after these contracts are already signed, we're going to all of a sudden change the rules? That's bullshit, Steve. And the thing is this, I would never take a knee during the national anthem. It's just the way I was raised. But you know what? Then again, I'm not in the same situation that a lot of these people are that take that knee. Now, I could sit here and claim that, I can understand what they feel, but I can't. I mean, my ancestors didn't own slaves, but also my ancestors weren't slaves. So in the end, maybe people just need to shut up, and instead of assuming what people mean by their protest, to listen to it. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but I don't think you're ever going to get anything solved in this country until people, instead of flying off and saying, oh, you're disrespecting my flag, maybe understand why they do what they do. But nobody wants to. Everybody wants to assume. Now, you could say it didn't solve anything, but if Colin Kaepernick, what's the other way he's going to protest that would have got that much attention? And from that protest, you see a lot more videos now of people that are brutally assaulted by police, black and white. This is the other thing. They make it sound like it's just black people to get abused by police, but white people do too. But also, now you got a bunch of people claiming they're getting abused. When you see the body cams, they're not. So all in all, I just think it's a bunch of bullshit. I think the NFL was paid to be patriotic. They were paid to have players stand for the national anthem. You didn't see this 10 years ago. You only saw it once they got paid. So what this is a big corporation that just wants to get paid. And now they're telling players you got to stand because they think it's hurting their pocketbooks. The problem is they're screwed either way now because half the people are with the players, half the people are with the owners. So in the end, Steve, no matter what happens, half the people are pissed.
Which is why I say just take it out of this venue. Just remove it from this venue at all. I fully support their protest. I fully support all of it. I think there is injustice, but I just think this path that's going down is not working. There's no results coming out of it. Nothing's changing. There's just growing debate that's dividing people, like you said, and it just, they tried it. It's getting no traction and no ground. Now, one thing has changed since the first time Kaepernick has taken a knee.
But, Steve,
that
if
one
the
thing.
NFL really wanted to fix this problem...
I agree the NFL's at fault. I agree. Hey, the NFL is the biggest culprit in this whole thing.
So we're going to...
You're right. They've made their own bet.
Yeah, and the thing is this, all you have to do is go back to the rule you had before 2011 when they got paid. Just leave them in the locker room.
Take them out. Leave them in the locker room.
College football.
I said that from day one.
College football. Everybody gets left in the locker room during the national anthem.
Right.
So
Just
this
leave
is
them,
the thing.
Yeah.
This is my take on this. The reason they're doing this is because you're still going to have some players that protest. And that's good for business.
I am not against anything that's going on. I just think it's a venue that has shown no ability for anybody to gain any ground or any footing. I think the NFL is perpetrating most of this because they're trying to please the customer. I agree with you 110% there. By the same token, I think that the players are, because of this perception is reality thing and the way that's just the way things go. The players are losing to a degree, and no social change is occurring.
Well, how about this? In the 1960s, the first big guy that really protested against the Vietnam War was Muhammad Ali. And I did some reading on Ali, and 80% of newspapers said, well, that's not the thing to do. It's not going to accomplish anything. But in the end, it did. I mean, him standing up against the war gave other people the courage to. And it was a war that shouldn't have been fought. And everybody agrees with that now. But he was persecuted for it. He was called everything. He had 3 years of his career taken away. Colin Kaepernick's had his career taken away for no reason. He did nothing that was wrong. There was nothing in his contract from his employer that said that he couldn't do it. And they took his career from him. Now, I'll do this. I'll agree with you where they tell the players they can't protest, and if they give him a job, if they give Eric Reed a job, because they're both really good players that deserve a job. My problem right now is I'm a player, and you tell me not to protest, I'm going to tell you to kiss my ass because of what you just did to two players. So they need to right what they did. What they did was they took money to be patriots or to act patriotic. And then when Colin Kaepernick did, what's the most patriotic thing you can do in this country? It's to protest peacefully. And he protested peacefully. He didn't do anything to incite a riot. He just took a knee. And it doesn't matter what the perception is. It only matters the reason why he took a knee. Just because a bunch of racists or a bunch of idiots think that he's unpatriotic because he's taking a knee, it doesn't change the fact that he has a right to peacefully protest, even at his job, if the employer doesn't have anything written saying that he can't.
Well said. Well, I mean, like I said, in principle, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with everything that you said. I just think that the venue that they're using has proven not to be a result-oriented venue. They're getting no results out of it.
Can you tell me how he would have got a bigger result or how more people would have known about this?
Well, I guess you have to define result then, because really all that's happened is it's created great division.
Well, what
it's created some people lose their job.
The NFL also gave him $80 million to look into it at least.
He doesn't have the masses. I mean, Martin Luther King protested. He took his people to D.C. The march on D.C. He got numbers. Kaepernick's gotten no numbers. Yeah, he has nobody else. There's no numbers there.
Martin Luther King. There's no numbers where, because I think
I'm not seeing high school players. I'm not seeing college players. I'm not seeing youth. I'm not seeing them all taking
players do it. We played a team from Maryland last year. The entire team took a knee.
Okay.
They did. All right. We played separate inner-city schools in Cincinnati that took knees. College, they can't take a knee because there's no national anthem played with the players on the field.
All right. Okay. I just, like I said, I am not against the protesting in any way. They have a right to. That's the foundation of it. We formed this country based on protests. Exactly how this country was formed. We wrote the first law we wrote was about the God-given right to protest and to voice your opinion.
Here's the thing.
That's the foundation.
The NBA, you have to stand for the national anthem. It's in your contract. And that started because I think around 95, you remember Sharif Abdul-Rahim? His name was Chris Jackson when he played at LSU. But he took a knee in protest. They stopped it right there. Now, what they do allow is they allow their players to speak their mind at press conferences and interviews. But none of the players complain because when they sign the contract, they know that they have to stand for the national anthem. That's all I'm saying. From now on, if you want them to stand, just put it in the contract. If they don't want to sign it, I've got no problem with that because you have a right to not sign the contract because you don't like it. You also have, and if you sign it, you have to live up to it. Right. That's my only problem here. I mean, everybody drives me nuts. So.
Yeah, I said from day one, just keep the players in the locker room if you wanted to. But I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I'm saying they shouldn't have the right to voice their opinion and protest. They should have every right to do that, and that's the venue they've chosen. I'm just saying I don't think this venue is getting them the traction they need to get results from their protest. Well, I think the results that they're achieving are not what their protest was originally designed to do. And I guess we give it more time is what everybody's just going to say. Let it go. But I don't necessarily see a rising tide, growing trend, numbers going through the roof on supporting their protest. I see a divide in it.
No, because they stopped protesting, Steve, until shit like this comes up. Because until the Donald Trump thing came up, it died. And at the end of the season last year, nobody was taking a knee. I mean, come on. Okay. Nobody took a knee at the end of the season. I mean, what it is the NFL wants to keep it going because I think opposite of what people think. I don't think it's bad for ratings. I don't think controversy is ever bad for ratings. And like I said, ratings have dropped 10% because of streaming and every other way, the NFL Red Zone.
And the cost of going to a game,
Yeah, and I mean, if the ratings drop 30%, then I could believe it. But see, the other reason I don't believe it is this. I mean, you're pissing both sides off with this.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point. Nobody's winning here. Nobody's winning. And I believe the NFL is a bigger perpetrator in this mess than are the players. I agree with everything. So I just say both sides are getting pissed. Both sides are just dividing, and we're getting farther apart, and now it's rearing its head again. And I don't know. I think there's a time and a place to protest. There's a time and a place to watch football. And in my opinion, I just don't like to see a mix. But that's me because I'm just an athlete who loves sports. And I understand we have to fight the other battles too, but I just don't think these are two battles that should be fought together and on each other's turf. And, I'd say the players have ample opportunity to go out and to voice their opinions and to protest. They don't do it anywhere. I don't hear anybody else getting on TV, going on talk shows, taking a knee on a talk show and stating their case. I see them doing it on the national anthem of a football game. Other than that, they go to their parties, they go buy their cars, they go live their flat, extravagant lifestyles, they go do their things, and then they come back on the football field 5 minutes before the game starts for 3 minutes and take a knee and think that solves all their goddamn problems. That solves their problems.
I know a few NFL players, and there's very few that live like that. Most NFL players have charities, they have foundations, and they do give back. And I think that's another thing that people don't understand. If you go look at it, there's not too many NFL players that don't do something in their community.
Right. They should be voicing their opinion through those causes, getting those causes involved. There are more ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
This is not anything to do with – it's two separate issues as I see it. And I agree. I believe the players when they say they really are not disrespecting military or the country. I really believe them. I do. I don't think that's what they're taking a knee for, is to badmouth the United States of America or to piss on the flag or
then what's the problem?
The problem is just they're intertwining the two together because it just looks that way and it's just creating bad aura across the board. They have plenty of other opportunities and venues all of them can get any kind of attention they want. Most all of them can, and they can collectively unite in a different front. That's all I'm saying. But I agree with you with the NFL. I believe it's as big a culprit, more of a culprit than anybody in this whole thing.
All right, Steve.
But that's just my opinion. They choose to do it, and they're doing it. And it's a controversy that's going to go on. I don't see an outcome. I guess I'm looking at it from an outcome-based thing.
I could give
I don't
the
see an outcome
that works and the players get their way, and that's just if 30 or 40% of the players decide not to play until Colin Kaepernick's got a job.
You know what? The 56 men assigned to the Declaration of Independence made that commitment. Most of them got hunted down by the British soldiers. Most of them went bankrupt. They lost everything. They sacrificed to do it so everybody else could. So maybe that's what they've got to do.
Yeah.
Maybe half of them have just got to say, we're not playing until Colin Kaepernick is back in the league.
You know what?
No.
If you just had Tom Brady say, I'm not playing until Colin Kaepernick got a job.
Right. But they're not willing to do that.
Well, we don't know that yet because actually rumors
I'd be proud of them. I'd be proud of myself if they did protest.
Especially Richard Sherman, I believe, is one of the players trying to get a bunch of guys to do
organize.
That. Yeah. See, this is the problem with the NFL. These are guys that can't get organized to get their retired players benefits.
I agree. That's
or the proper benefits.
And what you said about the vets too is I see it out here in LA. The homeless people out here, the percentage of them that are veterans is saddening. It's very sad.
Yeah.
That this is how we treat people that were willing to give their life for us.
You know what?
It is sad. And it's sad how the NFL treats its former players.
The NFL could just give a few $1 million to those, but they won't.
Yeah. No, they won't. They'll give $39 million to Roger Goodell, though.
Yeah, they'll give $39 million
to Roger Goodell. Think if they gave 1 year of his salary to homeless veterans.
Oh,
1 year of his damn salary.
The worst case is Ricky Dixon. He played for the Bengals. He was on the Super Bowl 23 team. I don't know if you've ever seen the story about Ricky, but
roughly.
He got ALS, and he sues the NFL, and they fight him. And the NFL recommends a lawyer, and that lawyer took like most of the money that he was supposed to get. And now he's got to sue the ALS. And it's just a joke because they don't care.
Yeah.
And the thing that pisses me off in this whole thing is the entire bad guy and everything that has to do with the NFL is the NFL. Nobody will call them on it. Everybody wants to blame players or blame this, and nobody wants to get to the fact that this is just a greedy corporation that is just trying to make money, and that's all they are.
I agree with you 100% on that.
If you're going to protest the NFL, there's a lot more to protest than some players taking knees.
Right. Yeah, I hope Richard Sherman gets that act put together, and I'd love to see him walk off the field and just say, until Kaepernick and Eric are back in the league playing, we don't play.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What would be great is if you had white players do it too, which I know.
And there are white players who are taking the knee too. There are white players who are taking the knee. Sure. Yeah. It's not a race. To me, it's not a color thing. It's a bad venue thing to me. I see their mission.
It is brought up as a color thing every time you see an article.
I know, but it's not a color thing because I've seen entire teams taking knee. Now most of the entire team takes knee. Now the coaches. Hell, Jerry Jones was the one saying any player takes a knee in my stadium is going to be walked out of the stadium immediately. Now Jones is down taking a knee with him.
This is the thing. Jerry Jones never said that.
Yeah.
That was a story that was not true. But now Jerry Jones says that they have to stand. Because Jerry Jones wants to do what's best for Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones, right. But then there's photographs of Jerry Jones on his knee with all the players, locked arm in arm. So you're right. It just taints everything. It discolors it. It takes away from what their real mission is, which is to fight racial injustice. And we have to have them fighting because there's terrible racial injustice. It's terrible. When I go back and, I go to the same video of that athlete in Milwaukee, the Bucks player, and it happens to normal people too, not just athletes. But that guy at 2 o'clock in the morning parks his car in a handicapped spot to run in and get some cold medicine or whatever he's going to go do, comes out, and they got 5 guys beating on this guy, tasing him. There's a race issue there I'm sorry.
Well, you had the woman on. See, I don't even know if it's a race issue anymore. I think anymore that
the woman at the beach. Did you see that video?
Yeah, I think it's rich people and poor people. If you're rich, you don't get your ass beat. If you're poor, there's a better chance you're going to get your ass beat. And people don't understand. Yeah. If you look at the numbers, there's more white people that get abused by cops. I mean, cops are out of control in this country. I'll give you an example, all right? Because this pisses me off because everybody tells me, well, the majority are good. Well, some are good. Some aren't. But to me, a police officer is there to enforce corrupt politicians' laws. When we're coming home from Panama City, I see, it's Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. On our way up, 12-hour drive, we counted 9 people pulled over for speeding violations. But also during that time, I had, on 4 different occasions, cops buzzed by me going 85, 90 miles an hour. They didn't have their lights on. They're not going anywhere. They're just doing whatever the hell they want. And that's what they do because they're allowed to. And let's face it, police are supposed to serve and protect, correct?
Right, yes.
I don't need protection, and I don't need them to serve me. What I need is people to leave me alone. If somebody tries to break in my house at night and I call the cops, it's too damn late. So in the end, they're not serving and protecting anything. What they're serving are corrupt politicians who make corrupt bullshit laws that are unconstitutional. I mean, this is the thing. They will tell you in this country that abortion is wrong because a woman has a right to do what she wants with her own body. But as a man, if I drive without a seatbelt, they try to give me a $25 fine. What the hell is that? Don't I have a right to do what I want with my own body?
No,
you can't legislate what I do if I own it. All right? But the thing is this, you don't own anything. You don't own your house, Steve, even if it's paid off. Because if you don't pay your taxes to the government, they're going to take your house. So your landlord's your government. It's all bullshit. It's all a shell game. And we're all pawns because we fall for these bullshit little stories like standing for a flag in an NFL game instead of worrying about the crap that really goes on. And we're all being screwed. But nobody's smart enough to realize it because we're too busy hating each other. But that's my rant for today.
We have gotten off to I'm not even going to bring up gun control.
Because it's stupid. Because that's why.
Okay. No. We can't. We don't. We're good. We'll save that one.
I don't need a cop because I got protection.
All right, we're good.
Y'all want to come to my house and break in? Come on.
In the end, with the players, I think
I only call the cops to clean up the mess afterwards. By the way, but go ahead.
This is how I often have described Bob Knight. I thought that his motives were impeccable. His methodology often was not the best methodology available to him. That's how I've always described Bob Knight. And anybody's asked me what's like play for Knight. His motives are impeccable. He wants to win. He wins clean. He doesn't cheat. He finds a way to beat you. He studies. He prepares to prepare, and he wins. I think the NFL players' motives are impeccable. I think their methodology is flawed. I think Knight's methodology was flawed. It doesn't mean that Knight won with flawed methodology. The NFL players may win with flawed methodology. And just in my opinion, their motives are spot on. They are voices for many people. They get the attention. They get the platforms to voice their opinion. They should voice their opinion. I'm proud of them for doing it. I just think their methodology is not going to give them the desired results they're seeking. It's giving them undesired results, much as what happened to Knight in his tenure. Knight is one of the most successful basketball coaches ever to coach a game at the college level. He'll never be remembered for that. He'll be remembered for frickin' choking Neil Reed. That's what he'll be remembered for. And you should look at him, and you should put his picture and Wooden's up there and say, this is the bar by which everybody has to come to if you want to be great. I think the players have that same the motive, that outcome-seeking desire. Their methodology, in this case, I don't think is going to get them to the promised land that they want to get to. They should redirect, stay united, and stay as tight as they can and fight this thing, but I just don't think the venue they're choosing is the right venue. That's all. I'm all for it.
And my final thoughts are this. I don't care what the methodology is. You have a right to whatever methodology you want.
You do.
Have
yes,
a right
you do.
To
and I'm very
whatever
happy.
the hell you want. And until somebody can give me an example of something
right.
they could do that would get as much attention, it is what it is. The NFL is corrupt.
Nothing.
It's bullshit.
Yeah. It's
but
bullshit.
Hey,
I agree.
If any NFL
nothing in the world.
We'll do it though.
You talk about the high and low. You talk about the high and low of emotion. Nothing in the world pisses me off more than watching somebody burn our flag. But I am so goddamn grateful that they have the right to do it. That we live in a country where they have the right to do it. That it outweighs how much it pisses me off that they do it.
Oh,
because
there's a lot worse things than burning a flag.
No, that's just it's an example.
I know.
So,
but
with that, we have overstayed our welcome. We have beat a dead horse.
Still wants to listen to me, but
I don't even want to listen to you anymore.
It's just because of that
I don't want to get
Michigan pick. But we're going to get off here, and everybody, you can go back and listen to that preview show where I picked them, and I picked them easy, and some people didn't. But we will be back. Keep an eye on us at Grilling Truth, at Survive and Advance. You can check us out on Twitter on both of those. You can find us on our Facebook group. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you hear a sports podcast, you'll find the Grilling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grilling Truth, where the legends speak.